You can do everything with a little microphone, like a little troll in her blue outfit. Remember that one? And they can steal it from you. Like, get over it, Hillary. You lost because you're a terrible candidate. You can't even stand up. They threw you in the side of a van like a side of beef. Thousands of pages of intelligence reports relevant to this were only available in paper form. The staffers had to comb through thick binders with broken rings and missing tab dividers. I hate that. How many convictions did you get, John? I think it was one. And I think Michael Sussman got acquitted and exonerated because of your pathetic team. So when it comes to points on the board, John, you lose. A bombshell report now circulating all over X. You can see dozens of people have posted this and sharing it from a few weeks ago, back on November 19th. Over from Real Clear Politics, there was this report in a headline saying, exclusive, how Trump's own appointees aided the Russiagate plot against him. And we all said, yeah, we've known about it, but these classified documents are now coming out and they're showing us just who these people are and exactly what they did. So this report, drafted by Paul Sperry over from Real Clear Investigations, and we've been covering this for a long time. Of course, Trump was basically set up from the very moment he announced by Hillary with the propaganda about the PP tape and the Steele dossier and all the things. But now we're assembling it. We get these documents that are coming out in rolling tranches. They tell us here from Real Clear Investigations, you know, when the Obama administration officials manufactured Comey, U.S. intelligence tying Trump to Moscow following his amazing victory in 2016, they had no idea that Trump's own people would help them undermine his entire presidency and his re-election chances in 2020. But Real Clear Investigations had a review of the recently declassified documents that we've been covering here, and they've assembled this report. Listen to this list of these people. Former special counsel John Durham. And we feel like idiots here on this channel for supporting John Durham. I remember making thumbnails like years ago, like John Durham is going to be so great and tough and go find all the bad guys. Then we read his stupid report and we had to go look ourselves in the mirror and say, do better next time. John Durham. Also, John Bolton, who was texting his family members classified materials and sending himself classified documents to his AOL account, the National Security Advisor, who then had his entire account hacked by the Iranians. Great job, John. Also, Mike Pompeo. Remember Mike Pompeo, who wanted to go take out Julian Assange, who said that he should basically be assassinated? Mike Pompeo? Yeah, that guy. And former CIA Director Gina Haspel. What did they do? Well, they all dismissed or they buried evidence that cast doubt on the foundational document of the Russiagate hoax, the intelligence community assessment that was prepared in the final waning days of the Obama administration. That was the same ICA that Obama was getting briefed on up until the Trump transition, final days of December. Trump's coming in January. Obama is meeting with his intelligence people. They say, Russia, nothing's happening with Russia. Then suddenly something happened. They pulled the presidential daily brief off his desk. He didn't read that one. Then they came in the next day. They said, you know, we've got this new intelligence. And then Clapper, DNI, said, per the president, we want to open up a new investigation into Russia. And they all knew, because Comey wrote it in his handwritten notes, that Hillary Clinton was setting the whole thing up. And so then, that was before Trump even got in. Then Trump gets in. All these people get appointed. They're supposed to be friendlies, okay? And the reason this is so important is because is this happening right now? Do we have MAGA moles in there undermining the mission? Probably. But all these people then come in, and the evidence of the scam and the coup that they tried to execute the population of our country, they covered it up. Durham, who was appointed by Bill Barr, stopped the declassification and the release of key exculpatory evidence that would have debunked the ICA right on the eve of the 2020 election. Okay, they were all in on the cover-up. This has not previously been reported. The ICA helped frame the false narrative, which led to multiple espionage investigations that dogged Trump his entire first term. So how come Bill Barr and Durham were not letting the truth come out? They also said that Russian President Vladimir Putin had authorized dirty tricks to help Trump win. Remember, they said they had a clear preference for the president. Liars. It's not in the intelligence. We read it. A 2018 government review of that document, which was chiefly prepared by Obama's CIA director, John Brennan, and Clapper at DNI, he found that its most explosive claims were based on one scant, unclear, unverifiable fragment of a sentence from one of the substandard intelligence reports. And they're like, perfect. That's great. You have scant, unclear, unverifiable evidence. Let's put it in. Otherwise, we have nothing, according to recently declassified reports. And what happened is they kept it locked away. Now, while these Trump-appointed officials may not have initiated the weaponization, they facilitated it. They hid the evidence that exposed the claims. They allege Russia tried to help Trump. No, they did not. That was a fraudulent statement. Now, by obscuring Joe Biden's own role in perpetrating the hoax, they may have helped Obama's vice vice president win the close race. That's right. DOJ buried evidence that the Democrats had slandered Trump with a false attack. The Russiagate betrayal continued in plain sight, said former Trump NSA advisor J.D. Gordon, with some in Trump's own cabinet letting him twist in the wind instead of daylighting secreted material. Just release the evidence. Would have exonerated the whole thing, but they didn't. Instead, they let Mueller just piddle around every day on CNN while Jake Tapper was like, Trump, Russia, collusion. Trump, Russia collusion. With some in Trump's own cabinet letting him twist in the wind, including John Bolton. Now, the suppression can be traced back at least to mid-2018. Trump was already in the thick of it. That's when this guy called Fred Fleets, who was National Security Advisor, Chief of Staff to John Bolton, who was busy there texting his wife and kids secret information that the Iranians stole. Our stupid National Security Advisor was using an email account and sending classified materials to his wife and daughter via Telegram or whatever, or something, Signal, all of it documented. Then the Iranians hacked his AOL account. Then he deleted the account. Our NSA. That's why our country is so doomed, because guys like him are running it. So they were probing raw intelligence. The suppression goes back to them. A one-time CIA analyst himself, the chief of staff for John, he was curious to learn what they had found during the previous year. So he traveled to the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue to read a draft of the highly classified report in a secure room of the U.S. Capitol. Fleets told Real Clear Investigations he was startled, the guy working for John. He learned that investigators discovered numerous intelligence documents that showed the ICA's key conclusion. Remember, they came out, Russia developed a clear preference for Trump and aspired to help him win. It was all based on shoddy and fabricated intelligence, all made up. House investigators found those assessments were supported in part by the Steele dossier, which was Hillary Clinton campaign propaganda, a series of campaign-funded reports containing baseless accusations, which was already invalidated. Now, they said the ICA misrepresented both the significance and the credibility of the dossier reports. All of the other evidence was predicated on that. It's the fruit of the poisonous tree. The ICA referred to the dossier as Russian plans and intentions, and it falsely amplified that there was any intelligence in the Hillary campaign propaganda. Now, Fleets, the guy working for Bolton, he thought Bolton should be briefed on this. He said, man, I just was like in the CIA headquarters skiff, and I just read this document. He said, John, you got to read this unpublished House report. It undermines what the media is saying right now. They're saying Trump and Moscow colluded. They said it constantly. And these are the people who scream at our side, you guys will never accept the results of the election. Morons. You did it for 4 years. Trump won. Hillary was sitting there giving her stupid speeches like, you can do everything, with a little microphone, like a little troll in her blue outfit. Remember that one? And they can steal it from you. Like, get over it, Hillary. You lost because you're a terrible candidate. You can't even stand up. They threw you in the side of a van like a side of beef. Had colluded during the 2016 election. They couldn't let it go. Every day on CNN, there's the whole song. Trump, Russia collusion. Jake Tapper. Great song. Says he returned to his West Wing office. Flight sat down at his classified computer, wrote a synopsis of this, said the whole thing's a fake scam. John, do something about it. But Bolton didn't tell Trump. He didn't do anything with it, said Fleets. He never told Trump. I never heard anything about it again. Like key critical evidence that should have been released immediately that would have exonerated the whole scam. Bolton didn't let it go because he was inside trying to undermine this operation, the administration. Now, if Trump had known about the shocking revelations, said Fleets, the guy working for John, he could have used them to remove the cloud of suspicion hanging over his head. I still have this conversation with people. Well, didn't the Russians help Trump? It's like, no, get out of my life. That's how I respond. Bolton, who is facing unrelated criminal charges for mishandling other classified documents, and his lawyer, they didn't respond to a request for comment because he's being indicted now. Mike Pompeo, remember Mike, one of the snakiest dudes ever, who must have taken like 100 jabs of Ozempic or something because he lost a ton of weight. Now, what Flights did not know at the time was that the CIA was also hindering the House probe of the ICA. Well, because the CIA was involved in it, yeah. So as Trump's first CIA chief, Mike Pompeo, who wanted Julian Assange assassinated, was skeptical that his predecessor Brennan, also a corrupt monster, had gotten the Russia intelligence assessment as wrong as he was hearing from the autopsy conducted by the Intelligence Committee. So we showed him a draft, but he didn't believe it. He said, we have to be wrong on a lot of this stuff, said another person called Derek Harvey. He said, so we showed Mike Pompeo in the Trump administration, hey, Mike, John Brennan's a lying hack, all right? He says, well, let me see this one. Well, I mean, it looks pretty good to me. No. John Brennan said it kind of rings true. Okay, he said it kind of rings true, which means he knew it was not true. And he said that the CIA didn't approve this report, but the CIA analyst who wrote the report said that he did approve it and he wrote it. And he detailed the entire conversation that John Brennan had said. And then we got the other email from Clapper. Once the FBI and other intelligence communities were objecting to it, Clapper sends the email back. He says, hey, stop your whining. This needs to be a team effort. Okay, so just shut up and sign off on the document because we got to turn it in as a team effort. Some things you have to just play on board. All of that. They show that to Mike Pompeo, who's working in the Trump administration. And he says, well, I don't know about this. We're the CIA, Nothing happens. As a result, we didn't get a lot of cooperation from Pompeo. Multiple attempts to reach Pompeo by email and phone at his new job as senior executive of the Center for Law and Government at Liberty University in Virginia. Advisor to Ukraine's top defense contractor called Firepoint in Kyiv were unsuccessful. Honestly, this is traitorous behavior, okay? If you are working for the president, you have an obligation, you have an oath, you have a duty to do your jobs. And when you get evidence like this that is clearly within your jurisdiction that the president should and needs to know about, you're violating your oath. You're doing a disservice to your country because you're too busy working for the institutions of the CIA and Ukraine, okay? The military-industrial complex. These guys are traitors in my opinion. So Gina Haspel says, Pompeo's deputy at the time, remember this name, Gina Haspel, who appears to have played a much more active role in drawing a veil over the information. Yeah. A veteran CIA official, CIA's a dump. Pompeo had put in charge of most of the day-to-day operations. Think of her like Merrick Garland's Lisa Monaco. She apparently didn't appreciate congressional staffers investigating the agency's spycraft that went into the highly classified and restricted version of the ICA, which was fake. Sources told Real Clear Investigations she made sure the investigators' on-site examination, which spanned from 2017 to 2020, was closely monitored and tightly controlled. The House investigators, they had to be cleared. They went into a read room at Langley each day to examine the records the CIA used to support the ICA, and they were forced to lock up their laptops and materials when they left at night. Now, Haspel didn't even allow them to take even their notes out of their workspace there. They couldn't take anything out of the building. Now, another Intelligence Committee source familiar with the operation said the investigators suspected the CIA was, quote, spying on committee computers back at the Capitol. So the Congress goes over to the CIA to do a little overseeing of them. In the meantime, they're like, oh, perfect. They're not at their desk, so why don't we go hack their machines? They reported back to the then committee chairman, Devin Nunes, that the CIA had tampered with their computers. The agency forced them to draft their report inside the headquarters, maybe bug them so that they could read them. And this was only after they were denied access to any of the computers in the first months of their oversight investigation. Sick. Now, deliberate technical modifications to the CIA issued computers made the machines unstable and unreliable. So they're like, yeah, why don't you just give them that Pentium 486 from 1999? It's got a 14.4 baud modem. Just let them use that. They can access the files. It's an iMac from 2002. It's a blue one. They'll have fun with it. Computers made the machines unstable and unreliable, and it was basically obstructing their probe. Yeah, because they didn't want the truth to come out. They protect their institutions. The CIA was running an operation, and they don't want the truth to come out. So the report, which was obtained by the RCI, Real Clear Investigation, who wrote this report, they added, peculiar machine glitches cause lines of text to appear fuzzy. Can't read it. Forcing restarts to correct and sometimes resulting in lost text or footnotes. This is our government. They can't even get you a functioning workstation. The investigators repeatedly requested proper computers for their review. They said, no, we're out of money, sorry. They were also denied software tools that would have allowed them to actually search the things. Thousands of pages of intelligence reports relevant to this were only available in paper form. The staffers had to comb through thick binders with broken rings and missing tab dividers. I hate that. Somebody from the CIA went in to all of the binders, and you know those little things that like they clip together like this? Somebody just went in, he grabbed each side and he just went, nyah! And so they all close like this. Okay, they're supposed to close like this, but they close like this now. And so now every time you turn a stinking page, it gets hooked right on this one. And you want to burn the whole library down, you know? Pompeo and Haspel also placed restrictions on the access to Brennan's 5 hand-picked authors of the ICA. And remember, the way that they did this thing is they compartmentalized it. So certain people wrote certain portions of the report and you couldn't see the other portions of the report. And they would say, well, we'll tell you what they said. So what did they say? Can you see it? No, not yet. It's got to be compiled into the final report, but I know. And it's like, has all the hallmarks of Russia. Yeah. So then they assembled them and nobody really knew what the hell was going on. It took nearly 5 months for committee staff to be allowed to interview the ICA authors. Now, committee spokeswoman called Leslie Byers told RCI, quote, just getting interviews with the drafters of this document was a massive battle with the CIA. Further makes the point, like, why is Pompeo making it so hard for Congress to go in and investigate a corrupt attack and smear against his boss, the commander-in-chief, President Trump? Why does this happen? Open them up. Yeah, here's their evidence. It was a Steele dossier. Like, why do we have to fight for it, lose an election, have to come back, win an election again, get Pompeo out of there before we start to get some evidence of this? Cash Patel, Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi, it should have just been like, oh, they should have dumped the files out the window, right outside the Capitol, right on the lawn of the White House, and we could have all just gone rummaging through them. You know, I get the point. I prefer them scanned and nicely organized for the internet, but you get the point. Why Why are you obstructing? You work for President Trump and the American people, but this evidence exonerates President Trump. You'd be a hero. How come there, Mike? Why obstruct if there's nothing to hide? Now, in May 2018, Trump appointed Pompeo as Secretary of State, which was a disaster, and named Haspel as his replacement. Great. So then Haspel came highly recommended to the job. She was supported by many intelligence community veterans, including John Brennan, who's a criminal in my opinion, for whom she worked as London Station Chief and Director of CIA Operations. Before her 2018 confirmation hearing, John Brennan, who was facilitating the scam, the Crossfire Hurricane collusion hoax, Brennan was in the room. He comes in and says, you know who's going to be great for this role? Gina Haspel. In the Trump administration. And of course, Brennan also signed, before her 2018 confirmation hearing, Brennan also signed a joint letter with 52 other former intelligence officials who have no intelligence at all. It's one of the two, because the laptop was clearly the laptop. Everybody knew it, except these morons. So they either have no intelligence or they're corrupt liars. They can pick one. I don't care. It's probably both. But here, he also assured senators that he would produce unbiased intelligence. Yeah. So after John Brennan's friend and endorsed candidate, Trump's like, yeah, she could run the CIA. Sure. After she took over the CIA, she locked up everything, okay? All drafts of the House Intelligence Committee report in a gun safe inside a vault in a highly secure room at the CIA headquarters until she left office in 21, buried. She also impounded all of the examiner's notes and other work materials, so it's gone forever. Gina Haspel buried the report, said Harvey. Knowledgeable sources also say that before Haspel left, she demanded that both Bill Barr, she's running the CIA, she's like, you guys better do this. I'm running the country now, just so you know. And John Durham, who bent the knee to her, kept the report classified and not release any part of it before the 2020 election because it would have exonerated the president. All of the Russia collusion stuff that had been brainwashing many Americans for years, it would have reversed a significant portion of that. So the CIA, once again, was involved in rigging the outcome of the election because Gina Haspel buried evidence that should have been out and available to us. It was the CIA orchestrating a coup. We demand to know about it. In 2020, Gina Haspel was running around with her hair on fire saying it should never see the light of day, said someone. I still can't believe that she was President Trump's CIA director. It's totally insane. She wasn't Trump's CIA director. She was John Brennan's. She was the agency's director. Fleets, the guy working on this for Bolton, described her efforts to block this exculpatory information as literal insubordination of a U.S. president. Yeah, your job is to go in and find the cover-ups, find the corruption, root out the bad actors. Oh my gosh, you just opened this door in this closet. There's all this evidence that shows that they're liars. You have a duty to bring that to the president, and if you're not, that's direct insubordination. She's fluent in Russian. She has long been an expert on the Kremlin and staked out hawkish positions that ran counter to many of Trump's policies, working against him openly. Now, it's not clear if Haspel contributed to the ICA, the fake report that they were using to try to stop Trump from taking office. But in 2016, she was the station chief in London, where she assisted Russiagate investigators, including Peter Strzok. Peter Strzok, one of the FBI lovers, who was texting Lisa Page, "We'll stop him, baby. I love you." And then is such a pathetic baby that he blocked me on X at the slightest mention of criticism because he likes to live in his former FBI bubble with the rest of the cowards. She reportedly approved his travel to London to meet with another diplomat, Alexander Downer, you know that name, who claimed Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos, who was running his mouth, told him the Russians had dirt on Clinton. Haspel gets briefed on the matter. That became the basis of Crossfire Hurricane, and it targeted everybody. Then they went and spied on his campaign. Haspel was also in London during the so-called bump ops the FBI ran on Papadopoulos, and Trump's national security advisor called Michael Flynn, where the Bureau used longtime CIA asset called Steph Halper to try to catch them as having possible compromising contacts with the Russians. Now, multiple attempts to reach Haspel, again, were also unsuccessful. She is a new job as the chair of the CIA Officers Memorial Foundation. CIA also should be eliminated. A source familiar with Haspel's thinking said she objected to releasing the report, debunking the intelligence report, because it might reveal sensitive intelligence. What? That Hillary's a liar and you guys all tried to coup America? Though its recent release proved no national security interests were harmed at all. We've seen the evidence. Are we all dying now? Are we all melting in a nuclear holocaust? I don't think so. John Durham says, nevertheless, John Durham, remember him? We're like, yeah, John, look how tough he looks with his mustache. Made us look like idiots. Says, as Trump's first term drew to a close, there was one more opportunity to expose the Obama administration. Ironically, that was forestalled, right? And man, if they do a special counsel on any of this crap again, I'm gonna be so mad. If they come out like, we need a special counsel for James Comey or somebody so they can appoint John Durham again and we can all waste our time waiting. When is the report coming out? Oh, John Durham, look at, he's walking into another building again. again. It was Trump's Attorney General Barr who tapped Durham, an old DOJ colleague and friend who did nothing and wrote one of the most pathetic reports we've ever read here. Such a whiny, such an honor to be a part of the DOJ and conduct this investigation. Nothing. While Durham's final report, which was not even issued until 23, raised serious questions about the probe, his most significant decision may have occurred in the final days of 2020, when he quashed efforts to expose the plot to weaponize U.S. intelligence. That October, then National Intelligence Director John Ratcliffe wanted to declassify and release a devastating 44-page report that refuted the Obama-ordered intelligence community assessment that Moscow was working for Trump. Remember, that was the takeaway. Now, when the ICA was finally declassified this summer, it set off a firestorm of controversy. It led to the investigation of Brennan and Clapper, and it led to the indictment of Comey, because we then learned that the whole thing was based off of Hillary Clinton's campaign propaganda. The CIA knew it was fake. They knew Hillary Clinton was trying to draw this connection, and they still used it as the seed to create the entire campaign. But in 2020, John Durham knew about that. And what did he do? He insisted that it be kept under wraps, just as we suspected. Durham's a pathetic coward too. Durham argued he was using the secret report, drafted by two career House Intelligence Committee investigators in the inquiry into whether the FBI and the CIA had been weaponized against Trump. Durham specifically asked that the report not be declassified and not be released, along with other things, because I want to use it as part of my investigation and my prosecution. Who got prosecuted, John? How many people got indicted because of your work? Not many. And how many convictions did you get, John? I think it was one. And I think Michael Sussman got acquitted and exonerated because of your pathetic team. So when it comes to points on the board, John, you lose. I'm so sick of this. Well, we got to, sources and methods and ongoing investigations or whatever. But nothing came of it. It was all a cover-up, and he buried the evidence. He should be investigated too. So Ratcliffe, now CIA director, initially agreed to withhold the report. He's like, okay, which remained buried for the next 5 freaking years until Trump's new national, it would have been gone forever. Okay, the whole thing would have been buried forever if Kamala would have won. Forever. Then Tulsi comes in, who has been the strongest player on the team by far, and she released it virtually unredacted in July. How hard was that? Did the country melt down? Did the CIA evaporate overnight? Unfortunately, no. But John Durham could have done that, and he didn't do that. How come? Now, after we gave Durham the report, along with over 1,000 pages of other classified documents, he went ghost. He goes, holy crap, Trump was set up this whole thing. He's like, I got to indict everybody. John Durham was like, I got to indict Comey. I got to indict Brennan. I got to indict Clapper. I'm in big trouble. So he didn't want to do anything with it because he's a coward. And they are. They're just cowards. They protect their institution. Like Lindsey Halligan has bigger balls than John Durham and Bill Barr combined. Although Gabbard's release of documents makes clear that the ICA was a foundational document, okay, it was the basis of all of the scam, Durham all but ignored it. Didn't even talk about it. In the final report on the scandal, outside of a footnote on page 7 that cites it, it states, see also intelligence community assessment. There is no mention of the ICA anywhere else in his 316-page report, even though it was the basis of the entire scam, because it was a cover-up. John Durham was a mop-up cleanup crew. Nor does it appear in a recently declassified appendix to the report, even though Durham had interviewed 2 Obama officials responsible for drafting it, Brennan and Clapper. He interviewed them. One former senior intelligence official said, I have no clue why Durham left it out. We do, because he would have had to indict them, and he was a coward. Attempts to reach Durham for the comments were unsuccessful. Yeah. The declassified ICA is now being used as evidence in criminal probes of Obama-era figures, including Brennan. And Barr and Durham couldn't do it because they had to protect the government. And stopping Trump for them was way more important than getting justice for Brennan and Clapper and these other people who are just public servants, just like Barr. Because if they get prosecuted, Barr's like, I'm next, dude. And if Barr's next, then maybe Durham is too. Like, we're all responsible for the status of our institutions. Now, there was also a flurry of grand jury subpoenas, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, other Obama-era officials who all belong in jail. Durham's decisions are still influencing the debate. Washington media are skeptical prosecutors will find anything incriminating because they maintain that Durham already plowed that ground, right? Durham said, no. Should we look over here? No. I already investigated. Durham did. No, he didn't. However, Trump officials have come to doubt that Durham conducted anything. They didn't investigate anything because he was just twiddling his thumbs on behalf of Bill Barr, who said, go clean this up. So they note that Mueller and his prosecuting staff found no evidence of a Trump-Russia conspiracy, but they still dispatched FBI agents to go harass everybody. They got grand jury subpoenas. They went after phone records. They demanded additional documents be provided. They were prosecuting people. Now, Harvey says the CIA engaged in a conspiracy to fabricate intelligence against Trump. They were all in on it. They were effectively running an intelligence op targeting his campaign and the presidency and America like traitors. The ICA CIA was a key piece of the conspiracy, but it was used as a pretext to pursue and get warrants and pursue investigations of Trump and his advisors, and it crippled his entire administration. Now, a month after Trump defeated Clinton, Obama ordered the CIA and others to go find something that showed that the Russians tried to hack this thing. Obama ordered it from the Oval Office. Comey was there. Brennan was there. Man, they kicked in doors of J6ers for 4 years and arrested them for an insurrection. This was a coup at the highest level, and they're all running free. And our current DOJ and FBI are talking about, 10% reductions of urinating in public crimes, which is great. Nobody wants urinating in public. That's great. But we want justice for these traitors. Within just 3 weeks, the CIA came up with new evidence. You need more evidence, Barry? Let's go find some. They came back out. They said, yeah, you know what? Putin personally launched an influence operation. Yeah, to help swing the race for Trump. The publicly released report, which helped Obama and Clinton explain her shocking defeat, it hid the fact that this new report was based off Hillary Clinton campaign propaganda that was fake. Career intelligence analysts objected to using the dossier, but Obama's top spook called John Brennan, he overruled them all. At least one senior intelligence analyst, now a whistleblower cooperating with the DOJ, said he was threatened by superiors. You sign this or you're in big trouble. We're the CIA and the FBI, so get on board or else. Now, the whistleblower, who worked under then DNI Clapper, who was also a big coward, he couldn't even send the email himself, he had his assistant do it, also said he reached out to the special counsel Durham investigators. He said, hey, John, I got a bunch of evidence, man. They were manipulating raw intelligence, but John Durham said, who's this? Oh, you've got evidence about a conspiracy? Yeah, we'll call you back. Goes right in the shredder. I likely had information relevant to ongoing criminal investigations, but John didn't want to talk to them. Yeah. So they tried to make it seem like Trump and Putin were working together, but there was no evidence of that at all. If you read the report on the ICA, which we have, both Brennan and Clapper come across as the real malign operators. It was an operation. It turns out both of them knew Hillary had the whole thing going. Now, of course, Brennan and Clapper didn't return any requests for comments, but John Bolton's chief of staff says they rigged and they politicized the intelligence. And that was obvious to anyone that read the report. That includes Bill Barr, John Durham, John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, Gina Haspel, and many others who were working for the president. I mean, it's just like such a backstab. It's such a betrayal. Like, you owe your position to this man and you're not even going to support the cause, then you should just get out. You're a coward and just a pathetic excuse for human beings. And that's what I think of these people. So hopefully we get the DOJ and the FBI to continue to investigate this stuff because we want justice for what they had done here. Charge them, make them explain themselves, but why were they obstructing presidential orders, presidential directives that would have helped the country understand the truth about what the Democrats did? It's because they were running an operation to stop Trump, just like they always are. So great report from Paul Sperry. Awesome details inside. We're going to keep our eye on this one, of course. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do whenever those indictments drop.